Thinking about buying a condo in Vancouver? Well, hold on, because there are certain types that you should never touch, no matter how good they look on paper. Some condos, they may seem like a great deal, but lurking behind those walls could be hidden costs, endless repairs, and rules that will drive you up the wall. And so in today's video, I am breaking down exactly which condos to avoid so that you don't end up with surprising fees, a layout that you're going to hate, or regulations that might make you second guess your purchase. And be sure that you stick around until the end, because the last type of condo that I reveal, well, let's just say it's one that surprises most buyers, and it could save you an ungodly amount of stress and frustration. First up, let's talk about older buildings, especially those with poor maintenance records. Now, Vancouver, it has plenty of older condos, and while they may seem like great deals, they often come with hidden issues. A lot of these buildings, they weren't designed to handle our wet climate long term, which means they're prone to problems like leaks, mold, and structural wear. Listen, with older buildings, repairs, they're just part of the package, but what you want to avoid is a place where maintenance has been neglected over the years. So when basic upkeep gets postponed, even minor issues can spiral into major repairs. So things like a new roof, plumbing updates, or electrical work, these are all things you need to be on the lookout for. And if the building's contingency reserve fund, known as the CRF, doesn't have enough in it, those costs usually will be passed on to the owners by way of what's called a special assessment, which, depending on the repairs needed, can easily cost you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars. Now, if you're not familiar with what a CRF is, it's basically a savings account that the strata maintains, and they build it up with a portion of your monthly maintenance fees. Now, the purpose of having these funds set aside is for major repairs and replacements so that owners aren't hit with these huge unexpected costs. Now, here in BC, a healthy CRF, it should be around 25% of the building's annual operating costs or budget, okay? And if the CRF is too low, that is definitely a red flag that the building might not be prepared for big upcoming expenses. So if you're looking at a building, a condo, especially older buildings, review those strata documents very carefully. You want to go back at least 2 years, and ideally more if you can, to see if there are any patterns of postponed repairs or recurring maintenance issues. And you also want to pay very close attention to the CRF balance. It says a lot about the building's financial health, and doing this homework can save you from costly surprises and a lot of hassles down the road. By the way, real quick, if you're new to this channel, my name is Glen Hopkins, and I create videos all about Canadian real estate, focusing in on the Vancouver and Fraser Valley area. So if that is something you're interested in, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and that way you won't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. Also, if you do want some help with either buying or selling a home here in the greater Vancouver area, there is a link in the description box below where you can schedule a call with me. And if you are anywhere else in Canada and you need a referral to a fantastic agent, don't worry, I've got you covered. I know some amazing agents throughout the country that I can gladly connect you with. Okay, so next up, let's talk about amenities. You know, things like pools, gyms, the concierge. It sounds great, right? But here's the catch. Every extra amenity adds to your strata fees. And if you're not using them regularly, you're just draining your wallet. The truth is that many buyers, they get drawn into high-end condos with all of these extras, things like pools, hot tubs, gyms, rooftop patios, you name it. And at first it feels like you're getting into a luxury and you're having luxury at your doorstep. But here's the catch. After that initial excitement wears off, most people realize they barely use any of it. Meanwhile, your strata fees, they're often climbing higher to each and every year just to cover the maintenance and upgrades for each of these amenities. So here's what I'd say: before you buy into a condo with all of these extra perks, just be sure that they're perks that you're going to be using on the regular. Otherwise, you're probably probably going to want to steer clear. All right, number 3 is condos with poorly designed floor plans. When it comes to floor plans, there are definitely some red flags that you're going to want to avoid. First off, watch out for layouts with awkward angled walls. They might look fine on paper, but in reality, they make it tough to place your furniture, and you're going to end up with all this wasted space that's really hard to use. Also, you're going to want to think twice about units where the bedrooms are side by side, especially if the walls are thin. In that type of a setup, you're going to hear just about everything from the next room, and that's not exactly great for privacy. And here's another big one. You want to avoid units that are too close to the elevator or the exit doorway. And that's because people, they keep different hours, and let's be honest, some people aren't exactly as considerate when it comes to noise levels. Loud conversations while waiting for the elevator, or the constant clanging of that metal door to the stairwell, it can become a real annoyance over time, really chipping away at your peace and quiet. And the trouble is that these issues, they're hard to picture by just looking at the floor plans. And many buyers, they realize these types of things far too late. I actually did a full video covering the types of floor plans that you absolutely want to avoid. So if you want to take a closer look, you can check that out right there. Next up, let's talk a little bit about elevators, because this is one that might not seem like a big deal, but in a high rise, it really is. All too often people, they will unwittingly buy into a high rise condo with only 2 elevators. And then they end up every morning having to be there, finding themselves waiting up to 10 minutes just to get down to the lobby. And then of course on the weekends, there's more people moving in and out or having visitors, and it gets even worse. So eventually the hassle becomes too much, and they end up wanting to move just to escape the constant wait times and that frustration. So ideally for high-rise buildings, you want at least 3 elevators. And think about your lifestyle also. If you're coming and going a lot, or you have pets and they need walks, or they need to go out for regular pees, well, those fewer elevators are going to drive you nuts. It's these seemingly little things that can make a big difference in condo living. All right, here's another really big red flag, and that is condos with unpermitted work or renovations. Let's face it, some owners, they try to cut corners by skipping permits. Maybe it's because they want to save on taxes, or avoid inspections, or just cut down on costs. And I get that, but if you buy into a condo with unpermitted work, you're the one on the hook if something goes wrong, or if the city finds out. So take electrical work as an example. So say the previous owner added some lighting fixtures or rewired part of the unit without a permit. It might look great on the surface, but if the wiring isn't up to code, you could be facing some serious risks. So think electrical shorts or even fire hazards. And here's the kicker. If the strata finds out, they might require you to update the work to meet code and pass inspection. And that usually means hiring a certified electrician and paying for it yourself. And if the city steps in, you could also be looking at fines or having to pull permits after the fact. So that great deal, well, it can quickly turn into an expensive and stressful headache, and also safety and legal issues that you definitely don't want to deal with. All right, let's move on to something that can cause a massive amount of stress if you're not careful, and that is bylaws. Okay, these are the rules that govern condo living, and every building has them. But here's the thing. Some buildings have bylaws that are, well, let's just say a little too restrictive. I've seen so many situations where overly strict bylaws turned into some major frustration for owners. You've got rules that can restrict everything from pets to, what you're allowed on your balcony. Also, some buildings, they don't allow air conditioning units, which can make it very uncomfortable for those south-facing units on those hot summer days. And it doesn't stop there. Some places restrict barbecues, or even what kind of decorations that you're allowed to have on your balcony. So, if you have a pet, or you enjoy grilling on the balcony, or you just want a bit of freedom with your space, you're really going to want to check out those rules very carefully. So make sure that you take a few minutes to read through the bylaws before you buy, because it's way better to know these things up front rather than be surprised later on down down the road when you realize you can't do anything about it. All right, I understand that some of these things might sound like deal breakers, but these tips can save you from costly mistakes and some huge headaches. And if you are considering buying a townhouse, by the way, you want to make sure that you watch this next video right here where I cover the types of townhouses that you definitely want to avoid buying. And also, don't forget, if you're interested in either buying or selling a home here or anywhere else in Canada, there is a link in the description box below where you can schedule a call with me. Otherwise, I will see you on the next video.